7 ways to test a GET request. 1. Authentication. Does the user have the correct access to the application? A GET request without proper authentication should return a 401. Test the request with no token, an expired token, an invalid token, which is one that is in the correct format but is not valid, and a bad token, which is one that is in an incorrect format. 2. Authorization. Is the user allowed to get the information? A GET request where the user is allowed to use the application but not allowed to get the information should return a 403. Test the request with a token for a different account and a token for a non-admin user. 3. Response body. For a successful request, does the user get the appropriate response? Is a 200 returned? Is the response in the correct format? Is the returned data correct? 4. Record not found. What happens if you request a record that does not exist? The most common option is to have a 404 returned with no data, but it's also possible to have a 200 returned with an empty set. 5. Query parameters. If the request has query parameters, do they work correctly? If there is more than one parameter, can they be used alone? Can they be used in combination? Are any of the parameters required? And what happens when they are missing? Parameters that don't exist should be ignored. And invalid parameter values should return a 400 error and an appropriate error message. 6. Pagination. If the request returns many results, is there an option for pagination? Does the request return the correct number of records for the first page? Does a request for the second page return the correct number of records? Does a request for the second page return the right set of records? What happens if you request more records than the API can handle in one request? What happens if you request an offset that is smaller than the number of records? Sorting. If the request returns many results, is there an option for sorting? Does the request allow for sorting by more than one parameter? Does the request allow ascending and descending sorting? Are the records sorted correctly based on the request settings? And does sorting work correctly with pagination? 7 ways to test a GET request. Authentication, authorization, response body, record not found, query parameters, pagination, and sorting.